Cathy, Algorithms is a son of Bernardini that sold for $170,000 at the Keeneland September sale in 2010. How did a Bernardini go for $170,000 to Starlight Stable?
Well, there were two factors. He's a lovely horse. He's a beautiful animal. He was correct and he vetted fine. He was I believe he's a first week of May foal. But he scoped at the farm. He has a great disposition. He was fine for the veterinarian here. And when we got to Keeneland, the first person that tried to scope him with my best fella, Paul, holding him, our regular farm staff that raised him, and he truly was going to hurt himself. He pawed and reared up, and then when we tried it again and then again, he was going to flip over and hit his head and really hurt himself, which is so unlike his disposition. He was the one to walk on the van. I remember clipping his ears with no sedation, clipped his ears. I mean, nothing ever bothered him. So it was a real serious problem because, when people buy expensive horses at that level, they want to check everything they can with their own veterinarian. So I told Mrs. Klessman, and it wasn't good news because I said, we really can't do this. He's going to hurt himself. And most people would have said, I don't care. You get him scoped. And Pat said, just do whatever's right. So I said, I can't. He's going to get hurt. So I told people that he vetted fine, he scoped fine. I stood behind him, and thankfully Jack Wolfe, we'd had a relationship with him because he had bought Keyed Entry and had so much fun with him, and he knew I was telling him the truth, and he had no hesitation at all. So thankfully he trusted me, and he went ahead and bought the horse.
And so Jack Wolfe and Starlight Stable are being rewarded for trusting their instincts.
Mm-hmm. And Mrs. Klessman's being rewarded by, she certainly, Ava had all lovely foals, and they've sold really well, and so now she's being rewarded. It just took 24 months, but it's just wonderful for a breeder for that to happen.
Frankie Brothers was involved in selecting this horse, right? And kind of saw the potential that was there.
Yes, and he had been to the farm and had seen him canter in the paddock and watched him move, which helped. He was a beautiful mover. And he had seen him in the farm and came to the farm twice to see him, and really had worked very hard to know what he was like. And then Mr. Wolfe loved him at the sale. But he was built. He's built a little bit different from Ava's other foals. His head and neck are set a little bit lower, and he's a little bit longer. The others have more, you can tell they're really milers, sprinters. They're all beautiful movers, but he's built a little bit different, so we're hopeful.
The dam, as Ava knows the code, crypto clearance mare, and she is carrying a half sibling to Algorithms, right?
She's overdue right now to tap it, and she'll go. We don't know if she's carrying a filly or a colt. And she's had several colts in a row now, so we're hopeful for a filly. I'm sure Pat would want to keep it and race it if she'd have a filly. And then she's going back to Bernardini.
You've had great success with this family, right?
It's just been a dream. It really has. Her mother, Ava Nozacode's mother, Ava Romance, was 32, and she just died. I just buried her on the farm, and she was the first mare I bought for Mr. and Mrs. Klessman. And when Bill was alive, he kept almost everything, raced everything, always the fillies. So he would sell a colt now and then, but always kept the fillies. So they raced Ava, and I've had her whole career.
Tell me about Algorithms. What stood out about him when he was here being raised at Valkyrie stud?
Active, active, active. He would go out in the field and just run and run and run and run. He'd get the other foals to run. Poor Ava, she'd finally give up and stand there, and he'd run and he'd run and he'd run. Not fast, he'd just run. I mean, he just had so much energy and a really nice personality. Like I said, the scoping thing was it was a real shock because nothing bothered him.
So from a pedigree and a personality standpoint, this colt should love it as the distances stretch out.
Well, I sure hope so. He is built a little bit different. He's a little bit longer. His head and neck are set a little bit differently. He's still got Ava's big hip, and she stamps. All her foals have that, like Ava Romance, have that small muzzle and that just a beautiful head and a big hip. They all have that. But he's a very smooth horse, and he would, in the pasture, he would run, with his head down or more level instead of more up like the rest did, the milers, the sprinters in the family. So I'm hopeful we'll win a classic.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Yeah, she says, who is that? Okay.
Girl, you can go back out with your friend.
Well, she was a